finishing a video on Jesse Pinkman, it is only fair to also give a trial to Big Baldie himself. Walter White truly went from an innocent science teacher to becoming a bald, drug-dealing psychopath. So in this video, we are going to go over what the law says this man was really cooking up. And let me tell you, meth wasn't the only thing this chef made. It all begins when Walt catches a certain low-tier drug dealer and presents him with an interesting dilemma.
You want to cook crystal meth?
Either that, or I turn you in.
Cooking crystal meth is one thing, but his threat at the end really did it. It kind of sounds like he is forcing Jesse to help him bake them cakes, and that's exactly the case. Forcing someone to do dirty business by threatening with something that screws someone over is known as extortion. And as we are in New Mexico, this can range from a few months to a whopping 20 years in jail. Mr. White, however, didn't go for a high score as he only uses words. Had he used a weapon or some threats involving Jesse's life, it would have been way worse. But for now, he gets off with a nice year behind bars. But as you might expect, this is only the start. For the boys to really cook, Mr. White went into his school and stole some gear from the lab. I don't know about you, but whenever I was in science class, the teachers just couldn't stop yapping about how much everything was worth, and if you knock something over, you're in big trouble. So I'd estimate the goods he stole is well in the thousands of dollars, and as there are some potions in there that are only to be used to teach and not meant for at-home use, he is going to get himself a charge of theft for another year, and let's add a nice $5,000 fine too, because why not? Then Walter proceeds to make something you probably have never heard of, nor seen ever in this show. I just found out during all the research for this video, but they are creating a drug called methamphetamine. I mean, I had absolutely no clue when I watched the show they were making drugs. These guys should go to jail for 3 years to be exact. And as the operation was scaling, they casually dragged this buffoon into a car. I do like that car though. It gives me Cybertruck's vibes, although this show was a long time ago. Putting someone in the back of a Cybertruck gets you 5 more years though. But I guess you gotta fill the trunk with something, right? But they didn't stop there. They locked up his head with a chain, which is 4 more years. And then when he made a weird move and my guy did this, you can be sorry all you want, but you just unalived someone. And I hate to bring in Mr. Goodman, but you had him locked up against a frickin' pole. So there is a very strong argument against you that this was premeditated, but as it is your first, you can have 30 years without parole if you're able to explain yourself and confess everything. Although he ain't gonna do that, because he has to finish what he started. And what else to do than cooking more candy? Oh, and right before he started this cooking session, he saw a car with some engine trouble and decided to fix it. Sadly, that wasn't your car, and you intentionally made it go kablooya. That's destruction of property, so you gotta do 1 more year and pay for the car, which is probably worth around $5K. And on top of that, doing it next to a petrol pump was also a great idea. I mean, you made a cool exit with the explosion, but that sexy shot got you 4 more years for reckless endangerment. As of right now, Mr. White is already sitting on 53 years in prison and needs to pay a fine of $11,000. But that leaves you only with one choice. You gotta go bald and enter your final form. This sexy bald man understands the life of a criminal and finally takes this trial seriously. If he now gets asked, "Sir, what crime did you commit?" there is only one correct answer.
Yes.
He then basically decides he is now a ninja that can use smoke bombs. However, instead of using an actual smoke bomb, he uses science to blow the place up, as the details of this explosion are unclear and no certified explosive weapons are visible. This explosion will just be charged with reckless endangerment, adding another 4 years. And let's not forget the burglary he did by locking up that one security guard on the toilet. He then, of course, strikes a deal with the salamander to distribute the goods.
Oh.
He got his big old bag of cash, but also a prison sentence of 6 more years on the go. Jesse and the bald man, now with their new partnership in the bag, are creating more product on multiple occasions.
Okay, so what's the plan?
The plan is we cook.
Up until this point in the show, there have been 2 cooking sessions we haven't covered yet. So that's 3 years each, adding another 6 years. The last 3 crimes were all 6 years. You know what they say about 3 6s in a row? Maybe this is the devil himself. To top of his drip, he wears a nice hat and is trading clothes with people at the mall.
Busy. Yeah, that's cool.
Real cool.
Although you probably guessed there are no actual clothes in those shopping bags. It's a classic transaction of distribution, and that will be yet again another 6 years. And no refunds on this one. He then meets another character you might know.
World. $10,000.
He offers a bribe to him, which is worth 2 years. And as they didn't really get their point across, he sends 2 masked snowboarders to kidnap the guy.
Will not identify anyone to anybody. If he does, You're dead.
The snowboarders seem familiar, but I don't know. I don't recognize him. Anyway, kidnapping in New Mexico adds 5 more years to your sentence. The guy with the red mask even spits some threats onto him, and as the cool guy with the green mask is totally with it. This threat is worth another 3 years. It did seem to work, as Saul is totally on board the next time they meet.
Oh well. Look, let's crunch some numbers. How much money are we laundering?
So, for context, there is this guy walking around in the neighborhood that goes by the name of Heisenberg. This Heisenberg fella, however, is wanted by the police. And in case you didn't notice, Heisenberg happened to be the bald man before us. So what else to do then? Hire a corrupt lawyer who knows a guy that knows a guy that is okay on pretending to be Heisenberg and get caught by the Drug Enforcement Administration. Although he only does it for the right price. Baldie pays it, and with that, he just escaped his jail time, which on itself is another crime. This crime is known as obstruction of justice and gets him 1 more year. But that was only the intro of this meeting with Mr. Goodman. The real business is in laundering all the money that's being made from the candy shop. Money laundering in New Mexico is worth 3 years, which brings our new total to 99 years and $61K in fines. That's more like it. So if you want to see Mr. White hit that big hundo, make sure to keep watching because we are going way deeper into this rabbit hole now. And make sure to hit that subscribe button while you're at it. I want that hundo subs too, baby, although that may take a while. Now with their tracks covered, you'd think he was in the clear, but the stress wasn't gone.
Jesse, wake up! Jesse!
Even though you're looking for a friend, that's still trespassing. Business was booming, and now Walter no longer has to cook out of that iconic van, but has a full-on lab. That van got destroyed, by the way, which is tampering with evidence, which gets him 1 more year. But as they are going to be seriously cooking in this new lab, let's just charge all of that right now with a whopping 50 years in jail, as I don't want to look through all the footage to find the right scenes. So from now on, all meth making is covered. And as I said, it's going to get way worse. At first, Walter was very sad he had to kill a man, but now it's almost the same as eating a sandwich. Those are 2 first-degree murders and land him straight into a permanent stay at the county. And it were 2 murders, so 2 life sentences. And he ain't leaving no traces, so he also gets rid of the bodies as if it were Bill Nye doing a quick demonstration.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Getting rid of a body is punishable up to 5 years. And as they didn't just bury it, but actually got rid of it all the way to the bone, I'd say 5 years is pretty fair. Then, a lot happened in a very short time. Jesse had to shoot someone too, for which Walt is an accessory to murder. Walter went next level and bought heavy weaponry.
I'll take it.
That's 2 more years. At this point, he just moves mad. He's just having a chat over the phone while blowing up cars.
How long do you think that would take?
That's destruction of property and straight up arson. He launders way more money in way more creative ways, and he has a friend say hi to some of his business associates. He trafficked a real explosive into a hospital, which is 3 years in and of itself. He gave it to a guy who can't really think for himself and made him blow himself up in front of Gus and Tyrus. The actual choice of going kaboom was with Hector, so Heisenberg would only be an accessory to 2 murders in this case, which gives him 50 more years. He then shoots 2 more people, blows up a house that had evidence of the murder scene present. He fricks with the police by destroying a laptop with evidence by some sort of science-y magnet demonstration, which is another obstruction of justice. And if you wondered what he does with all the profits,
Okay. For you and me, $367,000 each.
he ain't paying no taxes on that, which gets him a fine of $100K and 5 more years. He also ends up stealing a huge load from a train and offers this up to a cartel in a totally not shady setup.
We have 40 pounds of product ready to ship. Ready to go.
That's grand theft from the train, getting him 10 more years, $10,000 to be paid, and for the huge traffic of it all, he can rot for another 18 years. He then backstabs his great friend Mike, who can no longer seem to find his firearm until Mr. White flashes a light in his face. This wasn't premeditated, so that's 2nd degree. Still earns him 6 years though. Oh, and every other person he wants dead, he can just place a hit on like it's nothing. He has an army of inmates doing dirty work who got rid of 9 people for him. For every solicitation to murder, he earns himself 18 years, so that's 162 years added in just 1 go. And after even more trafficking, he becomes the most wanted person in the state, so he decides to grow his hair back. He evades his arrest though, by hiding, stealing a motorbike, as it isn't looking good for him. This now supervillain is trying to rake in the points. So what else can you do than get more weapons and shoot more people? That target practice, however, are not just single murders. That counts as straight up mass murder and gets him a seat at death row. For those wondering, that means he just got sentenced to death. After that, he kills one more guy straight into his face and poisons this woman with some more science. But then finally he does meet his end. And with that, if Mr. White was still alive, he would have been charged with a final sentence of a death sentence, 6 life sentences, 471 years in jail, and a fine of $192,000, which in my opinion is still quite low. Let me know below who we should charge next, and remember guys, be a good person. I don't want to make a video about you. If you want to see this guy go to jail, click on the screen now.